The ground shakes before you see it coming, and that is the only warning you receive. For over a century, engineers pushed steel and fire to their limits, building engines so large that they redefined raw power. These are the 10 largest and most formidable rail giants ever created. By the time we reach number 1, the sheer scale will speak for itself. The Santa Fe 5000 kicks things off at number 10. Nicknamed Madam Queen, it rolled out in 1930, right in the grip of the Great Depression. Nobody was making anything for beauty back then, as they worked entirely for survival. It featured over 500,000 pounds of steel and 10 driving wheels. Producing over 93,000 pounds of tractive effort, it pushed freight through the scorching deserts of New Mexico and Arizona. While the name sounds gentle, the machine itself was relentless and completely indifferent to heat or distance. Madam Queen showed up, pulled the load, and asked nobody for help. Sitting at number 9, the South African Class 25 might just be the cleverest design on this list. Finished in 1953, it faced a problem that normally kills steam power, which was having almost no water in the desert it needed to cross. Water is the lifeblood of steam, and without it, the engine dies. Engineers solved this by designing a system that recycled its own steam back into usable water, meaning it could travel enormous distances without stopping. It weighed over 260 tons fully loaded and produced 3,350 horsepower. Most people have never heard of this machine, even though its engineering is highly notable. The Pennsylvania Railroad S1 claims the number 8 spot. This 1939 masterpiece carried a nickname that still undersells its scale, known simply as the Big Engine. At over 140 feet long, it seized the title of the longest passenger steam engine ever constructed in the United States. Its aerodynamic and bullet-shaped design turned every head on every platform it ever passed through. However, that extraordinary length created a crippling problem, as normal tracks could not handle its curves. The S1 was simply too long to bend around tight corners, heavily restricting this beast to specific mainline routes. It was too big for the routes it was meant to run, yet it remains one of the most striking machines in American history. General Electric brought the diesel era into full force at number 7. The GE AC6000CW was assembled in 1995 and packed 6,000 horsepower into a single block. 8 of these giants once joined forces in Australia and pulled a train stretching 4.6 miles long, hauling nearly 100,000 tons of freight. If you have ever stood at a crossing waiting for a freight train to pass, you know how long that takes, and these engines completed the job with room to spare. The AC6000CW proved that diesel power had outgrown everything the old steam kings imagined possible. Soviet ambition reached a peak with our number 6 pick. In 1934, engineers set out to design the largest rigid-frame steam engine in European history and produce the AA-20, a locomotive with 14 driving wheels lined up in a single row. This was the most driving wheels in a single rigid frame of any steam rig ever made. The AA-20 was so long that it snapped rail lines and derailed on tight corners, meaning only one was ever produced. That single machine earned a permanent place in railroad history due to its sheer scale, proving that larger designs are not always practical, even if they are memorable. Taking the 5th spot on our list is the Union Pacific gas turbine. This 1950s legend was nicknamed Big Blow because it relied on actual jet engine technology, though it kept a small diesel motor for yard movements and startup. Putting jet power on a train meant the largest versions reached 179 feet long and produced up to 10,000 horsepower. People near the tracks described the noise as something that went through your chest before your ears even processed it. The high fuel consumption forced their retirement, but while they ran, Nothing else on American rails matched that roar. The big blow earned its name every single time it fired up. The Bombardier IORE operates where most equipment gives up entirely. This number 4 machine, forged in the year 2000, hauls iron ore through the frozen wilderness of Sweden and Norway. Temperatures drop far below freezing, and ice coats everything along the route. The terrain punishes gears in ways most engineers never voluntarily plan for. Yet this mechanical monster delivers over 14,000 horsepower and moves 8,000 tons of iron ore per trip. While other engines break down in those conditions, the IORE keeps moving because cold and distance cannot stop it. It was engineered for a single purpose and deployed in one of the harshest environments on the planet. Our number 3 heavyweight carries a name with serious history behind it. Built exclusively for Union Pacific in 1969, the EMD DDA 40X was called the Centennial to mark the 100th anniversary of the Transcontinental Railroad. Union Pacific chose to celebrate by assembling the largest diesel engine ever put on rails. They locked 2 full V16 diesel motors inside a single frame, creating one continuous machine instead of separate units. 2 enormous powertrains produced 6,600 horsepower combined, stretched across over 98 feet of track. The Centennial was Union Pacific showing the industry that 100 years had not slowed them down at all. The Chesapeake and Ohio Allegheny H8 belongs to the mountains at number 2. This 1941 locomotive was designed for dragging coal out of the Appalachians, which was one of the hardest jobs in American railroading. The locomotive alone weighed up to 778,000 pounds, crossing well over 1 million with its loaded tender. Its output reached 7,500 horsepower, and its massive axle loads ended up damaging several bridges on the network. Engineers designed something so heavy that the ground itself pushed back. The Allegheny redefined what pulling heavy loads looked like. The undisputed king is number 1, the Union Pacific Big Boy. Rolled out in 1941, the Big Boy is the largest and most successful steam engine ever made. It featured 132 feet of iron, a boiler large enough to fit a small room inside it, and 16 driving wheels. Producing 7,000 horsepower, its fully loaded weight crossed 1 million pounds. 25 of them were manufactured, and they spent nearly 2 decades hauling heavy freight over the Rocky Mountains. The name Big Boy came from an American locomotive company worker who scratched those 2 words in chalk on the front during assembly, and the name stuck permanently. You can still see one of these machines running today. In 2019, engine number 4014 completed a full restoration and returned to active service. It now travels across the country under full steam, blowing its whistle at every crossing and letting people feel what 1941 engineering sounds like in motion. You can walk up close, feel the heat rolling off the boiler, and watch 16 driving wheels start turning from a dead stop. This experience explains exactly why this machine closed the debate permanently. The Big Boy outlasted a century of rail engineering and secured its place at the top. From a desert survivor in South Africa, to a gas turbine screamer in Utah, to the ruler of American steam, every engine on this list pushed engineering into territory that felt dangerous to enter. Tell us which one stood out to you in the comments. If you appreciate heavy machinery and the people stubborn enough to craft them, subscribe to the channel, as engineering history still has plenty left to tell.